Okay, what's up, everybody? Give people enough time to get into the room here. And I'm gonna set up the chat. I'm gonna get the chat going so I can see who's in here. Let's see. All right, so let's see who's in the room first. Let's see who's in the room first before we get started. Let's see. Give some people some time to get up in here. Let me get started. Okay, H. Rich, you got Dramar Will. What's up? What's up? So I got two people in the house so far, at least checking in. Give it a few more minutes, and then we get started. All right. Did you happen to check? What's up, JG? What's up? What's up? Peace, 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 family. All right, we're gonna have a good show tonight. We're gonna have a good show tonight. What a name! God damn it! God damn, salute Jesus. What's up, Malik Bey? And my homie Malik Bey from Brooklyn. Malik Bey. What's up? What's up? All right, I'm just going to get started. I'm sure a lot of people are going to come in a few. What's up, China Black? Good to see you. All right. All right. We're just going to get started right now. For those of you who don't know who the brother is on your screen, you should know. He's DJ Faze. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is basically pick up on something we dealt with before. Tiny of the Black Spades made a comment that sparked some controversy. And the controversy that he sparked is when he said that at its inception, Puerto Ricans made up 40 to 50% of the Black Spades. Now, I made a video somewhat disputing that, even though I'm not from the Bronx, but it seemed illogical to believe that to be the case, given how the Black Spades was formed and the ideology behind the Black Spades was formed. Clearly, it wasn't a multicultural creation, given the fact that the Nation of Islam, the doctrine of the Nation of Islam, played a part in radicalizing Guru, as he says, along with his brother, not his real brother, but his brother, David Brockington. I believe that's his name. I pronounced it right, Brockington, who also went to the Mosque number 7 in Harlem. So given that kind of history, and given the names that he mentioned that were part of the original 4 or 5, I think there were 5 original members of the Spades, none of them were Puerto Rican. So if Tiny were to say that they made up 50% or 40% at its inception, that's clearly not the case. And so, needless to say, some so-called historian doctor tried to, debunk what I said, dismiss what I said. So what I decided to do, I decided to reach out to someone who I believe has some history and knowledge of what was going on in the Bronx during that period of time. So without any further ado, let me welcome to the platform DJ Faze. And DJ Faze, welcome. I appreciate you taking the time out to give us your knowledge of what happened in the early days of the Black Spades. And we're also going to get into some things about hip hop, but I want to first start off with that, but take a couple of minutes and for those who may not know who you are, tell us who you are, okay? Floor is yours.
Peace, brother. Peace, brother. I really, really appreciate you bringing me on your platform to spread a little bit of what I know. I would like to start by saying that I was um, I was brought into the Black Spades by Guru. So, from my knowledge, Guru and David created the Black Spades. I think 67 or 68, 1967, 68. And so the reason why I became a baby spade was because Guru I was looking out my window, and he did date one of my cousins, but I was looking at the window because he was downstairs waiting for my cousin to come downstairs. And he was throwing a knife into the tree. And so when he threw this knife in the tree, I'm amazed at it. I'm like, every time he threw it, it stuck into the tree. So I'm amazed at it, amazed at it. So you know, he asked me, well, I asked him, if he could teach me how to throw this knife in the tree. Because I'm little kid, and that's what I'm into, stuff like that. I love that, slingshots and stuff like that. So he told me, he said, listen, the only way I could teach you is if you're a part of us. You're a part of us. And so at that point, of course, anything he says, I'm going to do because I want to learn how to throw this knife into the tree. That's number one. So that's my introduction to the Black Spades. Um, there was no divisions at that time, and that's another thing that people get kind of messed up. They don't understand, and they call it, gang or whatever, but you can't call it that in the beginning. You can't in the beginning. You can't call that. So I'm just giving you a brief introduction of how I became a spade. So I hope that when you ask me these questions, that we can go so deep to find out the exact foundation of the spades. And I hope that we can go to the foundation of hip hop. I know some of your questions. I've read some of your questions, and I'm ready to answer your questions. But I just wanted to say, a lot of people, and this is real. A lot of people that do these interviews or say this, I'm a fraud or whatever, is because they get second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, a long generations of secondhand information. So any information that I give you is because I was right there, I saw, or if I did get secondhand information, it meant that someone had, like, give an example, someone had a fight in the third section, because there's three sections of Bronxdale. So somebody had a fight in the third section, and we're in the first section on the bench. So the people come directly from that fight over to the first section and say what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's my secondhand information, because they came straight from the third section to the first section to say what happened. I'm just giving an example of second hand. Now, other people will won't even have a person that was there when it actually happened. They'll get something that someone else told them, and that somebody else told them, and so on and so on and so on. So the people that come up now, they'll say, oh, well, I heard that this happened, or I asked such and such and such if this was there or whatever. They're getting all that long generation of hearsay. And so anything that I do is something that I recall, that I was there, and that I witnessed. I won't say anything that somebody else said, that somebody else said, that somebody else said. I don't
Okay.
do that, because you might be walking into something that's just not true,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's why I don't do that.
Okay. So when you had mentioned that you didn't consider, okay, when I listened to Guru, I forget what the not the podcast, but the channel that he was on, he referred to 1969 as when he formed the space, he called it a gang, but you said you don't consider it a gang, even though he called it a gang at that time. What's the discrepancy as to why do you think he would call it a gang and you don't call it a gang?
Because when he was referring to, from my knowledge, and this is something he even told me,
Okay.
this is something that he told me. He said that, you know, the reason why they even created this whole situation was because Spanish people were in a gang. They
Right.
were in a gang.
Right.
And so he felt like he had to make something to counteract, to protect from their gangs.
Mm-hmm.
So when, of course, when he first created, like you said, it was like two or three. In the beginning, it was just him and two other people, and then somebody else came along.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't call anything a gang until at least 10 or 15 people
Okay.
are inside of that organization. You see what
Okay.
I'm saying? And then that makes it, that makes this like a Two's company, or whatever. You can't just have a group of one. So I feel like the gang is under the same umbrella as that. The multitude of people that joined made it become a gang.
I hear you. I hear you.
Just like Cool in the Gang, it would just be cool if he didn't have other people. True or
So
not?
so if you know, only if you know, what at what point would you consider it a gang? If you know.
I believe it started, like I said, when other sections joined in, other people joined in,
Mm-hmm.
and that was, like I said, that it was, if it was, because I might be getting the dates wrong as far
Mm-hmm.
as 67 is when it was
Yeah,
created.
Guru says 69.
Okay,
In the
so
interview, he says 69.
if it was 69, I would
Mm-hmm.
say by 70 that it was a gang,
Okay. All
because
right.
that meant that a lot of people were interested now. And you had Snoopy, Slater, it started being more people,
Mm,
and so now it's getting organized. And it still wasn't the first division yet.
okay.
It still hadn't, it hadn't become the first division yet.
When would you say, when did the first division form, as if you know?
Well, it's not that it formed. What happened was when other parts of our territory became fluent into what we were, into our gang, into our organization,
Mm-hmm.
then someone decided to say, okay, we're going to break it up into division. And that's, I think, was the prime thing that kind of messed it up for us, because division is nothing but division. Once you
Yeah.
divide something,
Right.
you divide in something.
Right.
So the only way that we could, if you could have a first division, would have to be from the creators of the whole thing. They would have to be the first. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we're the first division.
Okay. And so now, harking back to the statement that Tiny made, if you know again, would you say at its inception were there Puerto Ricans as part of that inception?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because one thing that, from, you can ask anybody that was there, one thing that was known back in the 70s and the 60s was that they stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
So if they stuck together and they had what you call beef with someone, they're not going to join the other side. It's no, and say, okay, we're and beef against their own.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the whole conception of why the Spades were created, because they had beef with Guru and David and them.
Mm-hmm.
So their gangs, I don't know if it was the Savage Nomads or Savage Skulls or I don't know which gang it was, but they had beef. They jumped. That was the whole thing, was jumping.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just a one-on-one. It was a bunch of them jumping David. You
Mm-hmm.
see, that was a thing for. So in the creation of it, that's why they created it, is because they had this beef with the Spanish. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. In the 60s and the 70s, there was no difference like to know Puerto Ricans or Cubans or Dominicans or we didn't know none of that. All
Mm-hmm.
we know is that they spoke a different language
Right.
and they had a different straight kind of hair, and and the way they dressed. So that was the only way we could distinguish who they were. We didn't say, oh, that's Puerto Rican or that's a Dominican or we didn't say none of that. Or this is Cuban. All we knew was that they were Spanish. We
Mm-hmm.
knew the language and what they spoke was Spanish. So they were all Spanish to us. So when the beginning started, it was us against them,
Okay.
and that's it. So there was no mixing of that. There was no. I can't, like I said, I don't remember anyone. And that's another thing. People say that, oh, I might be too young to do this. In Bronxdale, there's no such thing as that. Because if you 14, 15, 16, and y'all are in the staircase, y'all the 8-year old, 9-year old, 10 years old is right there too. You see what I'm saying? So we
Mm-hmm.
learned at a young age
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what we were doing. We one of the biggest things that people don't get and don't understand with us in Bronxdale is at 8 years old, 9 years old, we used to hustle packing bags and taking bags to the people's car, and we cornered the market on that. So you couldn't come from Monroe, Soundview, Castle Hill, Lafayette, parts of the Bronx River. You couldn't come into Pathmark and do what we was doing. You couldn't do that because we had it like locked down. So that's
Mm-hmm.
number one. So people don't get it at that age. If you stayed there at Pathmark from 7 o'clock in the morning to say 3 o'clock, or even less than that, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, you're gonna make $30 the
Mm-hmm.
least.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that age, people's parents weren't making that type of money a week. So if we go there every day, making $30 a day, why wouldn't these little kids have money that grown-ups would have? And
Right.
people don't get that. They don't. They can't fathom that because they didn't do it.
Okay.
So because they didn't do it, they can't see that. But you can ask anybody in my crew. You guys, Black Jack, you guys, anybody from Bronxdale tell you how the Little Rascals used to do. We
Mm-hmm.
used to do that. We used to. I had a gold medallion and all of that because we could do that. We had that ability to go to Pathmark in the morning and stay there and just hustle. So
Okay.
just imagine, just one bag. One bag. You pack one bag, right? Two bags or whatever. After you pack that bag, that person gives you a quarter.
Right.
Just say a quarter,
Right.
1 quarter. So 4 bags is $1. And so if Pathmark is if you getting 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 people, that's your money right there. And that's not even to say some people you would say, here's $1. Take my bags and take my bags to the car.
Hmm.
Here's $1. So in 1970, 71, you know what $1 could buy?
Right. Right. Right.
You
Right.
see
Right.
what I'm saying? And so people, these clowns that be on the internet talking about, oh, they too young to do this or whatever. Why? Because we have more money than probably your parents did.
Mm.
And so you can't fathom that. You can't say, oh, snap, wow, damn. Them little cats was having money back in those days. So of course we had Playboys. Of course we had British Walkers. Of course we had all the things that we wanted that we seen the big guys have. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So for them, they couldn't see that. They can't see that. They'll say, "Oh, that's fake. That's a fraud or whatever." Why? Because we was doing that. My whole crew was like that.
Hmm.
There was some of us, I'm not going to say no names, but some of us had to do that. They had to bring the money back home and buy food and stuff like that. Now
Right.
that's even though we did all of that, we still was, I hate to say it, was stealing steaks and all of that stuff out of Pathmark and going back to the projects and selling the steaks and women's pantyhose and all of that. We were doing that because that's what we were accustomed to doing, of getting that money at that early age.
Let me
And
just
so,
okay,
go ahead.
let me stop you here because I want to touch on it. Why? Because I want to follow this through line before I lose my train of thought. Why would you think Tiny would say what? I'm not asking you to attack Tiny, but what would you think would motivate Tiny to make that statement? Was his experience maybe in a different division? Maybe it was like that, or what do you think caused him to say something like that?
I think like this, and this doesn't have nothing. It is This is not just Tiny.
Hmm.
There are a lot of people that weren't in the beginning. That's number one. So
Hmm.
they can't tell you exactly how it happened in the beginning. That's number one thing. Okay, because like I said, in the beginning, it was only a certain amount of people.
You
It was,
lost your mic. Losing your mic.
huh?
Okay, now you're better. You kind of dipped out for a second.
Oh yeah, somebody was calling me.
Oh,
Um,
okay, got you.
okay, so people that don't know the actual beginning will say what they think or what
Hmm.
they heard. That's number one. Number two is you have people that want to be down.
Hmm.
And that's all you can say is they want to be down. They're not down. They're not a part of the hip crowd, but they want to be hip crowd. And they might hang out with somebody that's in the hip crowd. And that's just it. That's just it. You
Okay.
know, that's it. There's nothing that he said that made sense as far as the creation of it. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying? So you got to look at the division. What division? And that's another thing. It didn't go from 1 to 22 to 32. It didn't do like that. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in that order.
Hmm.
So you
Hmm.
got to look at the divisions that's in. So if you're in the 22nd division, how much time has passed
Hmm.
since the first division?
Right. Okay. All right.
You see what I'm
So
saying?
yeah.
Go ahead.
So now Coquelin Rock is on record saying he didn't know Herc was Jamaican until like for 2 years. In your experience, how many times did you come across a person that you thought was a brother, a Black American or foundational Black, whatever you want to call him, and then you found out he was Latino or Caribbean? Can you speak to that kind of experience? I
Yes.
know, I know Tex Hollywood. Other than you could talk about Tex, but other than him,
Right.
were there any other people?
Well, you know, if like I said before, we didn't really know the difference between Puerto Rican and Cuban, Dominican, or whatever. I myself didn't know a Jamaican person until I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. I didn't know
Okay.
what a difference between a Jamaican person or or a Haitian person or whatever. I didn't know the difference. All I just know was by the color of their skin.
Hmm.
So back in those days, it was a lot of people that, not a lot, but there were people that blend in so well, like by having their hair frizzed out or whatever, in the afro, and didn't speak Spanish,
Hmm.
at all, and was like either light skinned, like our brothers and sisters,
Hmm.
or and so we would never know that they were Spanish until maybe you go upstairs and their parents, would be Spanish, and then you'd be like, "Oh, snap, you Spanish?" And you'd be like, "Whoa, we didn't know." And
Hmm.
so a lot of times those people, they didn't say they were Spanish. They would say, and to keep it real, they would say, "Yeah, they black." They
Hmm.
black, like a lot, especially some of my friends would tell me, like I got a friend right now, and they were like family to us. And that's why I don't understand why they think that I hate Puerto Ricans, which because I don't. Some of
Right.
my best friends, my best families or whatever were Puerto Ricans, Rick, Bebe, Coochie, all of them are my downstairs neighbors that are like family. Like I could go to their house and eat. They come to the house really out like they could do all, and we were friends. And so the only way that we would know that they were Spanish was because of their parents.
Hmm.
Their parents were Spanish, like they would talk Spanish and stuff. But us, baby, and them, we didn't know. And
Hmm.
so, like I said, Ricky had an afro. All of them had an afro. None of them had the straight hair. They all had afro, curly afro, and everything. And so that's why it really gets hard to me to hear someone say like, "Oh, I'm hating on the Puerto Ricans." No, I'm just telling the truth.
Hmm.
I'm just telling the truth. You
Hmm.
know, in elementary school, right? When we were in, like I would say, in the second, third grade class, third, fourth grade class, if a new person came and they were Spanish,
Hmm.
back then you knew they were Spanish because number one, their hair was slick, the colors that they would wear, I'm keeping it real, keeping it honest, the colors that they would wear, and high waters, and
Hmm.
the patent leather shoes that they
Hmm.
would wear, you know,
Hmm.
and we were like, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know you're getting ready to go into I know where you're going, but let me take you there first. Let me take you there first. Let me ask you this question. We're gonna cut to the chase. There's this discrepancy for some, I don't know why, that says hip hop is not part of Black American culture. I want you to tell us, is hip hop part of Black American culture? And why do you believe that that's the case?
Okay. First, let's establish what hip hop is.
Okay.
Okay. Let's establish what hip hop is. In the beginning, in the creation of hip hop, it was a drum beat, a person talking on a microphone or just talking, dance, a dance to it, and that was the creation of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became the drum beat, someone talking on the mic, dancing, and the fashion, what we wore.
Mm-hmm.
Those four things were the creation of hip hop. That's it. There was nothing else. That was the creation. That was what changed from just listening to funk music or R&B music or soul music. You know, that was the change that made it hip hop. Was those four, if you want to call it elements, you could call it elements. But the way in which that was done was the creation of hip hop.
What would you say to the people who say, well, what about graffiti? What would you say to that?
I would say no,
Okay. And
no,
tell us
because
why.
the number one thing was graffiti was way back.
Mm-hmm.
You could go far as the pyramids and say graffiti, somebody writing on the wall, you know. So that was here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the flyers were not out. Graffiti on fashion was not out yet. Because see, that's the whole thing. We're not talking about what happened, the amendments and the stuff that came after. We're talking about the creation of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference. People don't see the creation of hip hop. So yes, funk music was there before. Yes,
Right.
dancing was there before. Yes, people talking junk on the microphone was there before. But to put it the way we did it made it hip hop.
Right. I agree.
And that's it. Another thing, and I'm gonna tell you, and this is where when people say, "Oh, but we were too young" or whatever, that's how you know that they weren't in the creation of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Because as us being young, we actually brought Mario didn't create hip hop. Mario let us, little rascals, play on his stuff and he brought it out. He
Mm-hmm.
was the key to open the door to say y'all could play hip hop. So we were the young ones. Because at that time when we first brought out hip hop, teenagers was thought we were stupid. They
Okay.
was like, why are you just playing this little piece of the record and doing on the floor and doing your why are you that stupid to me? And so that's why it became what it is today. It's different. People say that the creation of this or whatever. Can you hold on for 1 second? Let me see if I can mute my mic.
Okay. All right. Well, he step aside. I'm gonna see who's in the chat. Mina, what's up, Mina? We have. Let me see who else we have here. Akeem, what's up? What's up? What's up? Got King of New York. Welcome to the chat. Let's see who else we got here. JG, I already said hello to Paul Roberts. What's up, DJ? Biggs, what's happening? What's happening? All right, let's see. I hope everyone is doing good in the chat. All right.
Is
Tyler,
that good?
yeah, good, good. You good. You
Okay.
good.
All right. So what I was saying is that the people, the older people, they were like thought that we were stupid. They thought that that was the stupidest thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't want to do it. What happened was when we were doing it, and people started listening and liking and seeing what we were doing, then it started staying.
Mm-hmm.
Just like now, people see something, they might not like it in the beginning, but then when they see other people liking it, they jump on the bandwagon. And we
Right.
were just talking about that. So now they say that, okay, now that these people like it as well, instead of saying that we joined in, they say they created it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where your problem comes in. And so the people that created it is looking like, hold up, you ain't create this, you ain't do this, you ain't even like it when we created it. So that's where the problem it comes problematic at that point.
Right. Right. Yeah, man. So when you in your area, because this is the whole thing about this hip hop story. Everybody got their story. Oh, they'll say, well, you wasn't at this part of the Bronx, so you don't know what was going on at this. This is what I noticed about our good friend. He has something to say about all the people, whether or not they're Hispanic or Black American or whatever. Like, let's say Kaz, let's say Raheem from Furious Five, let's say, uh, let me think how, Ruby D. I'm trying to think of all the people. Batch. The list goes on. I should have written down, but anybody that says it's Black American culture, he says that, well, they weren't everywhere in the Bronx, and to try to dismiss the idea that it is in fact Black American culture. And how do we know it's Black American culture? Because we can look at the music, we can look at the language of hip hop. Where does the language of hip hop come from? What they call AAVE, African American Vernacular English. Any culture is defined largely by how it communicates. And that way of communication is through language. There's no question in my mind that the language of hip hop stems from Black American culture. And if that is the case, then hip and the music as well, then that clearly points to a Black American origin. For anyone to argue differently than that, I don't understand the logic behind it because it's clear as day. What do you think about that?
Well, you have to understand why people want something, why people want to take credit for something. Okay.
Mhm.
So everything, and I can basically say everything that we create has been either stolen or made to be someone else's,
Mhm.
no matter what. So we go back to saying like that, and because my favorite is James Brown. Okay, I
Right.
can tell you stories about how I met him and all that, all of that. And so James Brown's music was what we are. And when I say what we are, is the tempo of his music is our tempo. So everybody has a tempo. Every nationality, everybody has a tempo. That's why we're so unique because of our tempo. Now I'm a break it down to you. I broke this down on another uh, um, interview, but I'm gonna break it down to you.
Mhm.
A metronome, a metronome has bars and count, right? So it
Right.
goes 1, 2, three, four. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. And it's direct. That's direct. So if you set your music to that, then it's direct. We're not like that. Our rhythm is totally different.
Right.
So our rhythm goes one and a two and a three and a four. So that just that little anna is the connection to the one and the two and the three. So that's the connection that we don't have. So if you think about it, and I know people are gonna be mad at me. They're gonna be mad. I understand. But
Mm-hmm.
if you ever see, I call them pink people, the what you call Caucasian people, I call them pink people, right?
Right. Right.
So if you ever notice a pink person when they're dancing, they they dance off sides. You look like you ever watch Seinfeld, and you see Elaine dance, and she looks like she's doing that, whatever. That's
Right.
because they're trying to catch the rhythm within that beat, within that thing. And so that's why it's different. If you look, and I hate to say it, if you get a beat, right, and you hear we're on the we know the difference between boom, bap. So Spanish people will clap on that boom instead of clapping on that bap. And that's because of the timing of it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just it. So you could take that and look at breakdancing. When you look at breakdancing, right? And this is something you have to know. You have to really, really look at and see. When breakdancing first started, right? Because of our rhythm, we tried to connect each part of our body with a part of that beat. So let's say we use the foot for the bass drum, and we use our hip for the snare drum, and we use our hand for the hi hat or whatever. Each step goes according to that beat. So when we went down to the floor, we're going down to the floor to that beat, not to just anything. So
Right.
if you look at breakdancing now, after certain people took it or whatever, went with it, they're just moving, but not to the beat. So
Mm-hmm.
you could take that's the difference of breakdancing. Breakdancing was created for the break of the record. That's the
Mm-hmm.
break. Once you get that break, then you could dance to it. You could do that stuff to the break. But we couldn't just dance without the break.
Right. Right.
These breakers, these people that are doing it, they could do flips and all of that, but it's not to the beat. So you could take out the music. If you looked at the Olympics, they were doing any kind of music. You could play
Right.
Beethoven, and they
Right.
were doing flips and turn around, spinning on their head and everything. So what part of breakdancing is that?
Right.
Just tell me. What so that's our culture is our rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
Our
Mm-hmm.
rhythms, that's us. That's what we have inside of us. Even if you go to church, you see that's the rhythm. That's what we do. That's our rhythm. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? And so that's our culture. When we, a lot of times, and people just don't get it.
Right.
When we were slaves, right? We were served scraps, right? Am I
Right.
right? Tell me if
Right.
I'm wrong.
No, 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 you're right. You're right. You're
All
right.
right. So we took those scraps and we made chitlins and fried the chicken and
Mm-hmm.
and 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 all of that, and ham hocks and all of that stuff. Now they gave it to us as scraps, but when we started doing it so good, then they all of a sudden saying that they created it. Look at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right, right,
Who was that? That wasn't that. He didn't. Colonel Sanders didn't create no fried chicken.
right, right,
You see what
right,
I'm saying? But
right,
so what did they do? They took our culture and said it was theirs. And that's the
right.
only thing. That's what's happening now.
I agree. I agree. Check this out. What I want to do, I want to, I did my video, when I did my video on the tiny thing, um, our good friend did a critique, but I want to focus on certain things that Guru said, and I want your commentary, and I'm going to do some correction as well. Okay. You don't mind if we do that?
You hit it.
Okay. Let me find, let me go back. Hold up. Let me go back. Let's do this. Let me find it. Let me share the screen. And then,
And can I interject while you're saying while
sure,
you
sure.
think
Go
about
ahead.
that? Now, a lot of people, right, can talk about Guru and don't even know him.
And I know, and you're going to hear this, um, saying, he's going to say some things about Guru, and I just think it's out of line, and I just want you to speak to it. And he basically, this video was basically about, trying to dog me out, but I really want you to listen to this, what Guru was talking about, and hear his critique of what Guru is saying, and I want you to comment, give your opinion as to uh, whether or not you think it's correct or wrong. Okay, that's what we're going to
Right.
do. So let me see, because most of this video was about me, but I'm going to do some correction, like I said, in a minute. Because okay,
Was it as early as 69?
let me go back.
It was definitely down why this was. Can't make this up.
Okay. All right, let's be clear about that. So, if this is your first time to this channel,
Warlord of the Black Spades was wearing a Puerto Rican
let me
patch
go back.
on his jacket.
Oh, God.
Spades, I was 15 years old. And I was
69, 70. He's 15 years old. He just asked him, how old? In 69, 70, 15 years old. When I started the Black Spades, I was 15. So this is 69 and 70. I just told you that Bam Bam, the supreme warlord of the Black Spades, was wearing a Puerto Rican patch on his jacket before the peace treaty. When?
Okay, can you, if you know, can you speak to that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know Bam Bam.
Mm-hmm.
I know Bam Bam, and like I was telling you before, you know, it's hard to really like even explain it, but the Spades were known for going to places and taking people's women.
Mm-hmm.
That you can ask anybody. That
Okay.
was what was known about. That's why the Spades got in a lot of shenanigans and stuff, because the women would just flock and go to the Spades, and so that would be another thing. So if back in those days, if you got a Spanish woman, then that's like something that you're trying out, like you trying that out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only thing that I could think of at that time, because I never saw this vest that had the
Okay.
Puerto Rican thing on it. I really didn't see it, and that would be something that I would have to see. And I'll ask Bam Bam. I'll
Okay.
ask them, because we've spoke on it before. We
Mm-hmm.
spoke on when Puerto Ricans came into it or whatever, and so I just can't see him having this Puerto Rican. Was it a flag? Was it a Puerto Rican
I
flag?
think he described it as a let me go back. I think he describes it as a patch. Let me go back a little bit. Let me see.
So it would have to be a
1970,
patch.
15 years old. When I started the Black Spades, I was 15. So this is 69 and 70. I just told you that Bam Bam, the supreme warlord of the Black Spades, was wearing a Puerto Rican patch on his jacket
A patch.
before the peace treaty.
Okay, so stop right there.
When?
Stop right there. Let me tell you why to stop right there.
Okay.
Because he just said the creation of, well, he said when Guru created it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bam Bam was not a warlord when they first created it.
Okay.
There was no warlords when he created it.
Mm-hmm.
There was barely president and a vice president.
Okay.
They didn't have it set up where, okay, this is going to be president of the security and all that. That wasn't in the creation.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. No way possible.
Okay.
And so now, and remember another thing, in the creation, there were really was no jackets or vests or anything. Okay, that came as they started doing it. That
Okay.
came as they started doing it, and to like I said, to have a warlord, that's, to me, I just don't see it. I may be wrong, but I'll ask Guru. I'll really ask Guru and Bam Bam and ask,
Okay.
well, was you a warlord when the creation started? Because it wouldn't make sense for that.
Okay.
A warlord would have to govern a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if you talk about 5 people, what is he warlording over?
Right.
Do
So
you understand what I'm saying?
fair enough. Fair enough. Let's continue. Let's continue.
Was it as early as 69? It was definitely in 1970. So, come on, Duke.
In seventh grade and junior high school 123.
Uh-huh.
As I mentioned, my dad had passed, but my mom had remarried to my present dad, my stepdad, and he was a businessman, started his own business. Didn't have much time for me. Therefore, I took my time and began to develop and use it for whatever I could. But things began to change in 1965, 66. Things changed. The first thing that happened, we had a large influx of Puerto Ricans who came into the Bronx, and particularly Northeast Bronx, where we were.
Okay, so let's just straighten that out. I got to get on screen for this.
I'm gonna have you and say
Let's
something after he
straighten
says
out
this.
that misnomer right now. Okay, 1965 is when there's a large influx of Puerto Ricans coming from the island to the Bronx. What are you talking about, dude? And yes, I'm talking to Guru. What are you talking about? The influx came in the 40s. And this was the final influx. We've been coming to New York since the 1800s. But when we talk about the final influx, it's the 40s. But guess who else was coming to New York in the 40s? From the Jim Crow South, African Americans. Oh, but it gets better because both groups were already in New York, rocking together in the 20s, in the 30s.
Okay, let's stop that nonsense right there. So uh
Okay.
let's stop that nonsense right there. So I want to go back. I'm gonna talk about my childhood for a second, just a quick second. I remember going to school. I'm born in 1960. Now I remember he's going to go on to talk about um, that the Puerto Ricans were like established in English and everything like that, and they weren't speaking a foreign language, whatever the case may be. I remember going to school, and they used to have bilingual classes. Like they would be in regular classrooms, and then for certain subject, they would go to a bilingual class because they just pretty much got to the United States. The idea that he wants to paint this picture that most all Puerto Ricans came uh, prior to 1960, right? But the truth of the matter, even a person like Abby, whose bachelor brother came from Puerto Rico, and as of I think it's 64 or around, I'm not sure what year, but he came directly from Puerto Rico. So the point is that Puerto Ricans were coming in certain what do you call it? They didn't all come at the same time. They came in different stages. So my point is this: he wants to dismiss Guru as not. He wants to. This is what he wants to do. If I'm trying to frame this correctly, he wants to say that blacks and Puerto Ricans were there at the same time. There was never more black people than Puerto Ricans in the 60s. And I need you, if you can you speak to your own personal experience with Puerto Ricans in terms of were they the numbers that you saw, even in your neighborhood? Can you speak to that?
Well, like this is my thing is this. Uh, we didn't know the difference of Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans. We didn't know that.
Mm,
We knew that if they spoke Spanish, they were Spanish. So in my building, from that I remember, we had the Mejiases down the hall. We had a couple on different other floors, Joey and then Raymond and everything on different floors, and Carmen and stuff. And they didn't they didn't want to be Spanish, I guess, in a
mhm,
sense, because they wanted to hang with us. They didn't want to be, like because there was a difference. Like you could go to Hunts Point or somewhere like that, and they would be straight Spanish, like straight Spanish. They would talk Spanish. They would dress Spanish. Everything Spanish. They wouldn't eat the food that we ate. They would eat, the Spanish, and we would know the difference. Like we could go over there and Hunts Point, and that they Spanish.
mhm,
So we didn't have them like that. We didn't have them, there weren't it definitely, if you look, okay, I'll put it this way. In those days, if we had 100 people in the project, just say 100 people, out of
mhm.
that 100 people, maybe 10 or 15 of those people would be Spanish.
Okay.
The rest would be us. And that's just how it was. Um, so our parents, our parents, you know, were like, you can't be prejudiced.
Mhm,
Everybody, you don't judge anybody by their skin color, everything.
mhm.
But a lot of their parents were like, don't play with that chocolate or boy
Right.
or whatever they called us or whatever,
Right.
and so that's where and some of them, like one of this is one thing that really hurt my mom so bad was that they would punish their kids by making them kneel on rice
Mm,
for a long time, and that used to bother my mother so bad. She like used to want to just go take the kids away from them and beat the parents up and stuff like that.
mhm.
So there was a lot of that strictness going on between their parents and the kids, so that it would be different. And that's a lot of how the anger became, against us, because it was, and then also, like I said, our style of dressing, which I hate to get, I know people gonna get mad, but our style of dressing, if they didn't dress like how we dress, we snapped on them. We
Right.
really did snap on them. Like one of the best the song snaps that we had was, the flood is over, the land is dry. Why
Mm,
you wear your pants so high? Now we'll say that to a Puerto Rican, and they'll be to run off crying because we said that, but
Right.
because they knew that that's what they were, that's what their pants were. The different colors. You would know if you moved into an apartment and it had all of these different colors on the walls and all of that stuff. You knew that a Spanish person lived in this house before that. So it was the different cultures
Right.
that made the difference between Spanish and us.
Well,
So that's what.
that was my experience too. Even in Jersey, with Latinos, they definitely dress different, and anyone who would try to say otherwise is not being honest. Now, I just want to make a correction in terms of he said that we came to New York at the same time. Clearly, that's a lie, and I'm gonna say this real quick. In the 16th century, there was a town called the Black Land, and that was where Wall Street is right now. And black people there were free black people that lived there in the 1600s, I should say 1600s. All right. You also have Seneca Village as well. Black people living there
Central
prior to the Great Migration. Black people have always been in New York. So, and black people started coming to New York from the South in the 20s, not the 40s. So let's get the dates right and the timeline right. Okay, let's continue with this. See what else you got to
The
say.
And I just
Palladium
want to
at
interject.
Birdland.
Can I just interject one more time?
Certainly.
Okay, and so from my recollection and my research from then to now, what I've noticed, and I've really noticed this, is that when they came, when Spanish, and I'm just saying Spanish people,
Mm-hmm.
Spanish speaking people, when they came from wherever they came, they were under the impression that they were going to be pink people. They were going to be accepted by the pink people.
Mm-hmm.
So the pink people were against us. The pink people that was real basically hated us, and so they took on that. But when they get here and they see that the pink people rejected them and threw them with us,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't understand that. And that's, if you really look at it, you can see that. You can see that. We have, I don't want to mention no names or whatever, but those people, they still resent us, and they resent us because they feel like a lot of people do it. You got Africans that
Mm-hmm.
don't like us, and they'll go with a pink person before the pink person that enslaved them, before they'll bond with us. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So there's a lot of them that still have that because that's how they were raised up, to feel like we resent the and I did a video on it, how the light skin Spanish resent the darker skin
Of course.
Spanish.
Of course.
You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so, if you, like I said, if you really dig in deep to it, you'll find out that the reason for that is because when they came to here, America, anywhere you want to say, their thought was they were going to be accepted as pink people.
Mm-hmm.
And the pink people said, They called them spicks and wetbacks and
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
said, knife carrying. Remember, there's all the things that they used to call them. And
Right.
so they didn't put them, of course, they're not putting them with them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll
Mm-hmm.
put us with what they call the ghetto. And
Right.
where were we at? We were in the ghetto.
Right.
So that's how they got there.
Okay. Let's move on to this one. Next one
Yeah.
here.
We talk about that from the
Yeah,
famous movie The Cross and the Switchblade, the true story.
Okay, let's move on here.
That's a gang in the 50s. Okay, so we were already here, bro.
Okay.
So come
Of
on.
course, he got
Come
that
on.
wrong.
But let's keep
No,
going. Let's keep
but
going.
let's keep going. Yes, let's keep on.
Let me put this on. This is his recollection. Okay, respect. Let's go.
Because we weren't, I want to be clear, we were not in the South Bronx. We were in the Northeast Bronx. But our friends and family and every connection was in the South Bronx.
Our friends and family were in the South Bronx. Well, who was in the South Bronx
So here,
during those years?
okay, so let's move on.
Predominantly.
He's talking about.
Let's see what else he says.
Let's go.
Coming in a community talking about this thing. Then they began to gather in certain parts of the school that they would take and make theirs. And, we were like, wow, how they do that. And the wonderful thing about that community when they came was that they support each other very strongly. The Puerto Rican community, those folks who moved at that point were very supportive of each other.
Okay, so he does identify that these are Puerto Ricans. Okay, cool. They supported each other. They stood in the now. Could it be that maybe they? First of all, you said they couldn't speak English, so they're apparently
let's move on. This what he does. He explains things. He does it. Everybody needs what do you call it? Translation. Nobody can speak for themselves. He has to translate for everybody. Let's find out. Let's move on here. Let's go.
Now I want to know: does he identify these groups that took over their section?
Okay.
Until the Puerto Rican community
from the Puerto Ricans. Now let me be very clear. There was no need to protect us. This was all an illusion that we created based on wanting to, this gang stuff that was at that time being heavily promoted.
Oh, I got to get on screen. Look what he just said.
We're young kids, and we spawned the gang. So we went to a couple of names, and we decided to use the black spades. And here's why. Because we knew the spade was a symbol, a derogatory symbol for black people at that time. And we said, you know what, we're going to make this something to be proud of. So we're going to take this name, we're going to call it the Black Spades. Originally, we had the spade upside down because we were trying not to show, right? So we threw that out the window. And we called ourselves the Black Spades and we began to organize. During that time, I met a guy by the name of David Rockington, who just moved into my community. And he was radicalized through the Muslim religion. He was a Muslim. And he was following he was actually in FOI from Islam. Uh-huh. He was attending all the meetings. He was actually in the school, going to the school, I believe it was in Harlem. They said in Mosque No. 7, they had a school there. He was attending. Everything he was learning, I was open to learn. I wanted to hear more. I wanted to be radical. I wanted to stop some of the injustices that I thought was happening, and I'll speak to that in a minute. But anyway, he was with me. He really opened me up. His mother, Mrs. Rockington, was also very knowledgeable about Black history, and that also enticed me. And we formed a friendship that we have until today.
So Faze, the reason why I featured this segment in my video was to show the reason or the motivation. What was the thing that radicalized him? And he mentioned the Nation of Islam, right? Now, our good friend tried to say that meant that didn't mean anything in relationship to race, because he wants to say that Puerto Ricans are the original man. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I need you to speak to, do you believe that this, and you already mentioned this already, that the creation of the space was in reaction to the Hispanic gang, right? So can you speak to that again?
Yes. Like I said, so what happened was, from my understanding, and this is what Guru told me direct. So we could get the Guru on the line and he'll tell you that that's exactly what he told me directly. He said that there were already Spanish gangs that were because that's what they did. They came in groups. They didn't come one on one. They came in groups. So they had a gang. And so the beef was with their gang and one person, which was David. So it was a bunch of them hassling David, just one. And so Guru decide, okay, if they're going to be against us, then we're going to have a powerful thing. And you got to understand, this is one thing that's really missing in this whole scenario. They were Guru and the group of people that Guru was getting were karate experts.
Mm-hmm.
These were people that were studying karate since they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they were kids now, but they were, since they were younger kids. And so we had masters in our projects. Papa Edwards, Snoopy went to the army and came back with his tactics. We had all masters of karate. So it was nothing for one of them to take 10 people. It
Mm-hmm.
was nothing. That was nothing. So if one could take 10, two could take 20, three, and so on and so on and so on.
Right.
And so that's what was the difference of being a gang and being. So now imagine if you got a whole gang of karate experts and boxers experts going against a regular gang. And so that's the difference. That's the biggest difference. Blackjack used to take me and Little Jack and behind our building, and he used to take our foot and put it up against the wall so we could do the split. And we used
Mm-hmm.
to do that. We used to go into the elevator and make sure our knuckles punched the walls in the elevator because it was like a narrow like wall. It was a wall that gave in, so we could punch the elevator wall without hitting a brick wall. You see what I'm saying? And so we used to do that. Karate Pete, Peter Khalif, he used to make us do push-ups on our fists. That was how we did push-ups. We learned how to do push-ups on our fists. So and we used to do karate every day. Like you go at like every day we were sparring.
Mm-hmm.
Every single day we were sparring. And so, that was a part of our growing up was karate and boxing. Blood was the one who fought Tyson. That was our growing up. And so once we were doing those things, that's what made the gang hard to touch. And so that's why other gangs had to have more people. But as the spades were coming, it was more and more people. So that's how later on in time,
Mm-hmm.
how people ended up joining the spades. But in the
Right.
beginning, it wasn't. There wasn't enough people to say that there was those people in the gang. So it wasn't enough people.
Okay. I'm gonna, like I said, this is about little teaching too. So what I'm gonna demonstrate for our good friend is that the Nation of Islam's position and who they are. And I'm just gonna just share this for those. Let me see where. Let's go. Here we go. Where we are. I had it up here, but no, that's okay. Let's do it this way. Let me do it this way. I had it up there, but it's not there. But let's talk about the original man. This is an argument that he presented that the founding of the Black Spades wasn't based on a Black identity. And so he cited the fact that because he's Puerto Rican, he's the original man. And I want you guys to listen to the man who would know who the original man is. You know, I'm not saying who the original man is. I'm going to let the teacher say who the original man is.
His true identity, his true nation, and his membership to that nation is now known and is now being connected. The American so-called Negro, the Bible's lost and found sheep, the members of the Black nation, the original nation of the planet Earth, the first people of the earth. And from these people, the Black people, came all other colors, namely brown, yellow, red, and white.
Right.
But the Black man is the number one original man of the earth.
So there you have it. There you have it. And so everything comes after that. So when we talk about Puerto Ricans, anybody else, they're part original. They're not the original man. And you heard it from Elijah Muhammad himself. He said the Black man is the original man. So let's not confuse people and try to make it seem like this is a multicultural thing. Now I'm going to be fair here. This is what I like to do. I'm not a person who always point out things that favor my position. The Nation of Islam does consider or can incorporate other groups into the nation. That's true. But the agenda is for the Black man. So if you have the will to serve under the Nation of Islam for the purpose of enriching and improving the lives of Black people, then you more than welcome. You know, except white people. That's the only people that he won't allow as part of the nation. Okay. Now here's another. I'm going to do this as well. I'm going to show you another quick example, and this is the last example I'm going to show. That's going to prove to you guys that the Puerto Ricans was not a part of the Nation of Islam in terms of what they fought for. Okay, this is important because we're talking about history, and we're not trying to make up stuff as we go along. Let me see. Hopefully, this is it. Okay, let me see. All right, let me roll this back. This
problem that stems from slavery. Now, and this compensation, yes, sir.
Okay, let me roll it back.
I think you're right there. I would not limit our employment demands to Negroes. I would include Puerto Ricans and other minorities throughout our country, which have been similarly discriminated against, though not for so long a period of time as Negroes.
Puerto Ricans weren't enslaved. Yeah, this is a problem that stems from slavery. Now, and this compensation, yes, sir. This compensation is coming to people who were enslaved by the white man for 400 years. The Puerto Ricans don't even fit into this picture.
Well, they do fit into it.
No,
they do fit into it.
The problem is the Negro problem. They're not lynching Puerto Ricans.
If a dark-skinned Puerto Rican went down...
So, again, what more proof do you need to show that the Nation of Islam purpose was for the development and the enrichment of what they call the American Negro? So when Guru created the Black Spades, he fed off the doctrine of the Nation of Islam.
Right.
Let's not confuse. Let's not play. Don't confuse people with this nonsense that Puerto Rican's part of it. No, you're not, my brother. You're not. You're part original. The Black man. And you heard it from Elijah Muhammad. You heard it from Malcolm X. What more can I say? I can't even add to that. That it is what it is. So stop playing games with this nonsense that this is a multicultural thing. No, you're visitors in our culture. You're guests in our culture, period, flat out. I don't make no apologies for that. Plain and simple. So that's all I really want to deal with that particular part. He needs some correction, so I decided to do it right now. So DJ Faze, we're gonna close out. I want you to close this out, and whatever you want to say what you want.
I have a question, because remember you said I could have a question. So
Yeah,
I have
sure.
a question for you. I have a question for you. Why do you think that they want to include themselves into our culture? Why?
I believe that when they look at our culture, it's powerful. We have some issues in our culture, but overall, it's powerful. I got my brother, I'm sure Malik Bey is watching. He said he got a great quote. He says, "They walk amongst giants." And he says that the Black Americans are the giants. And I agree with that. So who wouldn't want to be a part of that? When we do things, why wouldn't you want to claim certain things that you see as great? Let me give you another quick example. If you Google great American inventors, not Black American inventors, just say great American inventors, about 40 names will come out. Amongst those names, about 15 of them are Black American. There are no Hispanics, there are no Asians. They're just Black and white. We are great, given what we've gone through in this country. Slavery, Jim Crow, everything that we've gone through. We did so much. And we're the envy of the world. Our culture is very influential all over the world. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? Why not?
Okay, so that brings me to the next question. Because you have to say it's not just hip hop or whatever, it's basically everything we do.
Everything.
If we create something else that has nothing to do with like hip hop or anything, do you believe that they will try to add themselves to that as well?
If they could put themselves in the room, certainly. I call it the proximity argument. If they could say, I was with this brother over here, I was with this sister over here, they're going to say they've had something to do with the creation. That's just the way it is.
Right. Okay. And this is the last and final question.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that the people that are beyond these channels and say that, one of us are fraud or whatever, would you be willing to say that those are the people that were nowhere close to the creation, that have no idea, that are the most jealous people of this whole situation, that's who those people are, the most jealous, the most envious, the most vindictive, hating people that are in these circles, platforms? Would you be willing to say that that's what they are?
Certainly.
Okay. All right.
Certainly.
So that's why we get, me and you and I get those haters to say, oh, we're fraud, or we don't do whatever, because that's what they are. That's what they are. They want to be us so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So bad that the problem is, the funny part about it is, I thought about it the other day. We don't think about them.
No.
They think about us constantly, like every day they wake up, yo, Spades is this, I'm gonna say this about Spades, or I'm gonna say this about Gold. That's their life.
Right.
And so when they can say and argue or say, because they can say the stupidest things, but they said it against us. And so their name becomes in the same paragraph that we are. When they say our names, that means this is so, because people are going to look at our name. They're going to say DJ Spades. They're going to see the truth. The truth. They're going to see that. And that's what they're going to look at. So I'm glad that I'm glad, and I hope there's a part two.
They definitely can be a part two. Oh, do you have a few more minutes in case somebody want to ask you something?
Of course.
Some questions or whatever.
Of course.
So I'm gonna
I can't see the questions, so you have to tell me what the questions are.
Okay, what I'm gonna do, actually, I'm gonna put the link in the chat and see if somebody wants to come up and ask you a question. Now, when I put this link in the chat, guys, you got 2 minutes to say what you got to say. I'm not going to be here all night. So if you got any questions for DJ FaZe or myself, you got 2 minutes, okay, to make your point, and then we can, close on out. So I'm sure some of you may want to say something. So here's the link. It's in the chat right now. If you want to come up, again, you got 2 minutes to say what you're going to say. If you want to ask a question in the chat, just, put question, and that way I know it's a question, then I can read it and give it to DJ FaZe. All right.
Also, July 26th is my
definitely.
5th annual tribute to Disco King Mario event and Gleason Watson Playground.
All right. Say that one more time.
July 26th is my 5th DJ FaZe 5th annual tribute to Disco King Mario event and Watson Gleason Playground.
All right.
Bronx,
Okay.
New York.
All right. We got my brother Malik Bay. Malik, what's up?
Peace, brother. Peace.
All right. What's up? What you got to say? 2 minutes, brother.
Okay. Peace. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Peace, brother DJ FaZe, man.
Peace.
Peace. I'm from Brooklyn. We didn't have that close relationship like you guys got. Cause they can't make that claim down here because we didn't live on top of each other like that. We had our areas like Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, East New York, and they always had a problem with us. If you know our history in Brooklyn, every time we went in and out of those jails, we had beef with them Puerto Ricans from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? That's why to the day I can't go to the Bronx. I ain't lie to you. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. But what I'm saying is this, brother. What through our history, our music always came with a dance and a fashion vernacular. That's how you know our culture. They don't have none of that connection. That's why they can't show the evolution. Or they can start with the rock dance, then the breaking. I'm saying to myself, hold up. The language tell you is our culture. Just the word breaking, get down, rocking. We have no co-creators to our music and to our dance and our fashion. They know in the 70s they were dressed with them wild colors. We know that. You know what I'm saying? We know, listen, we know they were dressed with wild colors. You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you something. Even in Brownsville, a certain block full of Puerto Rocks, all you heard was their music. You didn't hear our music.
Right, exactly.
You didn't hear. Come on, we didn't rock like that. So what it is they trying to say the Bronx is different. The Bronx is not black culture. I'm saying to myself, hold up. I had uncles, you know what I'm saying, that lived in Bronxdale. You know what I'm saying? They passed away. You know what I'm saying? My father, he, you know what I'm saying, he was in the gang in Brooklyn called the Tomahawks, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I know by going up there visiting when I was young, there was always black culture, cookouts and everything. There was no, you know what I'm saying? And what killed me the most is this. I want to say this to you before I go. What killed me the most is this. If they always talk about the congas and the timbales and everything, and that was in their music, then why you had to convert into our music to hear those, you know what I'm saying, percussions and whatnot? Why you didn't bring your Puerto Rican music over? Because you know you full of it. And one thing I want to say, brother, keep your head up, man. I look forward to meeting you, brother, for real. I'm gonna land my plane there. Peace.
All right, thank you, Malik. Let me before I bring on Patrick real quick. Tanisha Hood has a question. Let's see. She says, what exact year would you say rap hip hop started? I guess that's for you, DJ.
Well, rap started years and years ago. I would say the first rap that I knew was Here Comes the Judge by Picnic Markham. And I think that was 1967. So that was the one of the first raps that I know. As far as MCing, you know, because rapping and emceeing to me is totally different. So emceeing, I believe, started, I have to say 70, 71, as far as what we're doing, as far as hip hop is concerned.
All right. Okay. One more question. Do any of you guys hear new sounds of music emerging? For me, no, not really. For me. So let me ask that question again for DJ Face. Do any of you guys hear a new sound of music emerging?
Well, it's not that it's a new sound, it's just it's music will always be basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
Music to any style that you have, it consists of notes and it consists of timing, beat, timing of those notes and timing of that beat, because you know you have music that is just maybe a piano or a
Right.
flute or any kind of instrument, you know. So it's not that it's changing, it's just that it's put in different categories. It's put together differently, but you still have the same notes. You still have the same instruments that have been. So it's just put together differently.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you, DJ Face. Go ahead, Patrick. Go ahead. You got it. Got the floor, brother.
How you doing? How's everybody doing? Hi, family.
Good.
First of all, I want to say, I want to give my man DJ Faze props as one of the originals. He deserves our honor and respect, along with Young Black Jack, the memory of Disco King Mario, because that's where it started. Let's stop being ashamed of hip hop's true roots, which coincides with the beginning and the founding of the Black Spades. So let's go there. And let's start there. And Black family, let's stop being ashamed to claim what's rightfully ours,
Mm-hmm.
and to give proper respect to the people who started it. And I'm so glad that True Savior got a hold of DJ Faze, because DJ Faze is one of the true originals.
Right.
Not Melly Mel, not KRS-One, not Herc, not Bambaataa. DJ Faze is a part of the first generation. So so when you're looking at DJ Faze, you're looking at where this culture starts, as far as when it formulates in New York. Now, I'm gonna mention this at this point from a different perspective. If I was every foundational Black American or descendant of a freedman in the New York, in that tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, I would be really um what's the word that I'm looking for? I'd be really pissed off for them to say, try to relegate hip hop to Bronx culture. I
Mm-hmm.
would be really offended.
Right.
You
Yeah.
you know what? You know why I would be offended? Because majority of the musicians, James Brown, George Clinton, those guys came from the South. Majority of Black music, the foundation of it, soul, all that stuff, it comes from the South, Mississippi, the Mississippi Delta, the Louisiana Bayou. The music comes up from there, and then it spreads among the culture. Okay, so if hip hop, which has elements of all of the other music, because it used funk as the foundation, then DJ Faze, wouldn't that make y'all thieves if it was just Bronx culture?
Well, let me break it
And
down.
you can't steal from your own, can you?
No, you can't.
Let's break it down. Let's break it down. So when you say the creation of hip hop, a lot of times it wasn't even a chance to use Southern beats, or there wasn't even a chance to use beats from anywhere, or New York, or it's too, you know. So the drum beat, you could trace that back to Africa. You could
Yeah,
trace that back to
yeah,
here. You could actually, you know,
yeah,
the drums were created here. You know, the drum set. were created here. And so if you want to look at that as an aspect and saying, okay, well, James Brown was from the South and we use his music. Yeah, you can say that, but we could also say that Richie Pratt was from Manhattan, and we use his drums. Billy Cobham, we could use. There's a lot of drummers that came from New York that we use those beats. Now, I'm not going to name a lot of those drummers, but I know a lot of those drummers that we use just that drum break. And someone got on the microphone and started snapping, and that's the creation of hip hop. So we can't really even say that it came from down south or whatever. But we did that. What we did that in Bronxdale Projects. We did that in the Bronx and the Bronx. And so that's where the hip hop part of it came from. Now, like I said, my idol is James Brown. So I know that from my parents are from the South. My mom's is from Alabama. My dad is from West Virginia. And so I was born in Manhattan, in Harlem. I was born here, but that's where when I was growing up, that's all I heard was Southern music. That's all I heard was James Brown and all of that, And so my bring to that was that I'm a drummer, so I would buy a record not for the music part of it, but for the drums part of it. And so that, just like that, boom, that, boom, that, boom. That has nothing basically to do with funk music, this music, or that music. That's just a rhythm, a timing that the drums produce to make that.
And that's my point. You were doing what was natural, what came natural,
Right,
what you
right,
felt, because
right,
there was a relativity in that.
right, right.
The heartbeat is familiar. There's a familiarity. That was my point. You weren't worried about whether the beat came from the South or across from Bronx to Brooklyn. You were doing what came natural, and
Right.
that is the core of it all, and that's what separates us from all of the outsiders.
There you go. There you go. And I hope you're gonna come on July 26th.
Hey, I'm a truck driver, man. I'm all across the nation, but I will say this before I go. In the 70s, I'm 55. I was born in 1970. My father was a Vietnam veteran. I'm a military brat. We used to live in Plattsburgh, New York, upstate New York. There's an
Yes.
Air Force base. Okay, when my father would go overseas, we would stay with our other relatives who lived in the Bronx and the Brooklyn. But they came from Georgia. My family's from Georgia. Before they came up, they lived in the Bronx and Brooklyn, and we used to go there. And I have a unique situation. I remember the Puerto Ricans when they came in New York and Florida, and they acted pretty much the same. They did not mess with Black Americans like that. They did not. They did not. And um, I just wanted to say, hey, keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to seeing your show, True Savior.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you're stepping to the forefront, man. Being a warrior in this fight. When
Yeah.
you brought phase, hey, in my book, that just elevated you to the top to Tariq level.
Hey, check this
Yeah,
out.
because
I got some more coming. Trust me, I
this is
got some
what we
more coming.
need.
I
We
got some more
we
coming.
we
I got
need
some more
young
coming.
Black Jack. We need young Black Jack and DJ Phase together. We need more of the originals,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
these clowns can stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah, Faith, that'd be a good show. Bring Blackjack with you, and we could do something
Definitely, man.
together.
That's my brother. That we're
Yeah,
part of the Little Rascals.
right, right. Okay, I got one more question, and then I'm gonna let Malik, say his final words because no one else is coming up, so that's cool. So,
Peace.
okay,
Peace.
Okay. The question is, do you think it's strange no new music didn't emerge other than hip hop? We normally would have two styles of sounds. I think our youth aren't creative. What you have to say to that?
Well, you know, it's because of what things have happened. I'll take for instance, when we were kids, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't know what the internet was. We didn't have. We used to make games out of nothing. You know, Skelsy is where you take a bottle cap
Right,
and
top and spin
you
and
top
shoot it.
and you do it. You know,
Yeah.
we would take a Spalding ball and hit it against the roof, and that was our baseball and our stuff. You know, and our basketball and stuff like that, you know. So we had to create those games, you know, those games, you know, like a run, catch, and kiss, and all of those other. We had to create those games.
Mhm.
So with having, you know, PlayStation and cell phone and internet and color TV and all of that, you know, there's no creation. It's just the same thing, you know. Who would have thought that? Because on our next one, I'll go even further back, and that you said something. I have to bring it to you.
Okay.
You said that other people would say, "Well, we don't know what's going on with this on that side of town or whatever."
Mhm, mhm,
That could be true,
mhm.
but no one can tell us how we started.
There you
You
go.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody can say, well, this is why it started this way, or this is what we did to start this. You
Mhm,
know, before I started talking about Picnic Markham on the internet, nobody was talking about that. Nobody was
mhm.
talking about Picnic Markham. When one of my early interviews, you know, back in the days or whatever, when I said it, then people started bringing up his name and saying it. Before I was talking about Mario. Nobody was talking about Mario, you know, but
Right.
now you see the so-called pioneers or whatever mentioning Mario. They wasn't mentioning Mario's before, you know, they wasn't. So, you know, to say something is creation is because people don't have the substance to want to create something new. They just want to have the same thing. They feel like if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? So that means that don't add, don't put your creation to make something different. They're scared of failure. And I think
Okay.
that's what it is. There was no such thing as failure when we were creating, because we were creating something that we wanted to create.
Okay. Let me address this comment right here. Okay. This is what it reads. I'm really trying to understand. So don't freak on me. African American music has Latin influences, although still AA music, African American music, but doesn't this mean there were cross cultural exchanges between the two groups? No, no.
Well, I want to
How do you,
know what it.
go ahead. No, I'm going to say that. Let me finish this. Let me finish my thought here. There's this myth that's out here that says that Black American music is influenced by Latin music. That's a myth. I'm going to come up with a video soon. I'm going to really break it down, where you're going to really see that the music that was created in America by Black Americans is uniquely ours. Has nothing to do with Latin culture and music whatsoever. And so there's been this myth out there for so long to say, oh, we Black America got their music from Latin culture or Latin music. No, that's not true. They got art, they got their music from us. That's the real story. And I've done many videos on this topic, and clearly people don't want to accept the reality because once again, they want to be a part of what we do. Everything we do, they got to find a way to attach themselves to it. This is just another example of how they're doing that. I don't know. I lost Spades. I don't know. Maybe his battery died or whatever. But if he could come back, he'll come back. I'm sure maybe something happened. But Malik, you had to close out, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, brother. What I want to say was this: they use the word Latin America as if You know, you're talking about South America, Central America, and the joining islands.
Mhm.
You know, you gotta be Pacific. That's why Mary Butler was Pacific. He said
Right.
Afro-Cuban.
Right.
He wasn't trying to say Latin America because Latin America mean any country. That's a cop
Mhm.
out. My thing is this: they avoid the Puerto Rican culture. What did you bring from your culture? Stop saying Latin
There you
America
go.
as
There you
if
go.
that's one Pacific so-called people or whatever. My thing is, it started off, what did y'all bring from your culture? So they
Right.
think they found a stint and whatnot in the percussion, but yet no, Puerto Ricans did not bring the congas or timbales to Black America. If anybody brought it to us, you know what I'm saying, or introduced it to us, it was the Cubans. But we introduced, you know what I'm saying, the African, I mean the Black American introduced the drum set to rock and roll music. You mean tell me all those rock and roll bands and whatnot, those rock bands playing with the drum set, we can go there now and claim co-creation? No,
Creation.
that's
Right.
that's like cultural
Of course it
appropriation.
is.
You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what they're doing.
Right.
How do you do culture appropriation? We don't recognize that you are talking different people. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day,
Mhm.
they throw this word Latin. Nah, you got to be Pacific. I'm not letting you get away with that. You know what I'm saying? I land my plane there.
I hear you. All right. Okay, man. Listen, chat. Everybody, I truly appreciate it that you guys stopped in. Okay, well, H. Rich asking the question. He says, "What does FaZe think of Cologne trying to claim our music genres like jazz?" Unfortunately, something happened to FaZe. His feed went out, so I can't ask him that question. So maybe his battery died, but all of a sudden, he just went out. So hopefully, he could come back in. But I'm getting ready to end the show anyway. But in any event, I want to thank everyone who took the time out to give their feedback and ask their questions and in the comments. I appreciate all the interactions within the comments. And like I said, I got some good things coming. I got some more interviews scheduled. I just got to finalize them. So in the meantime, I'll just continue to put out videos. So just keep watching the videos and make sure to get the algorithms up so that this message that I'm trying to do and put out gets out. Because not many of us are out here trying to gatekeep, and it's more important now than ever to gatekeep what is ours. We can't afford people stealing it. And the playing Mr. Nice Guy, those days are over. Mr. Accommodating, and those days are over. We need to be more protective of what we do and protective of our history as well. So with that being said, thank you, Malik, for chiming in. Thank you, China Black. Thank you for all of those, Akeem, all of those who was always with me. Appreciate you. I can't go through all the names, but you know who you are, and I appreciate all of you. So until the next time,